Hello and welcome to Factoring by Grouping and Trinomials when a does not equal 1. Today basically we are going to be covering something called grouping. Grouping is going to be done if there are 4 terms. This is assuming you've already done the cases where a does equal 1. Those are the things like x squared plus 7x plus 12, and you're supposed to factor this into the way we did it was numbers that multiply to 12 and add up to 7, and you would just find those numbers. So this is just a quick review. If a does equal 1, meaning this is 1, because the numbers are a, b, and c. So if a does equal 1, it's as simple as, hey look, 3 and 4, they multiply to 12 and add up to 7, so your answer is x plus 3 and x plus 4. Done. End game, no more. But if there is a number here, then things are going to have to be a little bit different. And the way I'm going to be showing you how to do trinomials, if this was like a 3 or something, you need to know factor by grouping first. So these first 4 questions are just kind of covering how grouping works when there's exactly 1, 2, 3, 4 terms, 1, 2, 3, 4 terms, whatever. And then we're going to get into what we really want, which is quadratics, when there is a number in front that's not 1, and how to factor that. So first of all, factor by grouping. What you're going to do is you will look first to see if there is a GCF, something that all of them hold. This one, it looks almost like they all have an A, but this one doesn't have an A. So there's no number that goes into them all. There's no letter that goes into them all. So there's no greatest common factor. So after that point, when you see that there's 4 terms, what you're going to do is group the first 2 and group the last 2 together. And I want you to note that I did put the plus sign inside the second one. It's important to do that just in case it's a minus sign. You do need it attached to that third term there. So that's why it's called grouping. You are grouping the first 2 and the last 2. What you do then is you look for the greatest common factor of each of these parentheses. So like what do these have in common? Then separately, what do these have in common? In this case, there is no number that they both have, but there is a letter. Both of these have an A, so you can pull out an A. When you take out an A, then since this is an A squared, this is like having 2 A's. If you have 2 A's and you take away one of them, you just have 1 left. Bring down the minus sign. And then 4AC, if you take away an A, is just going to be a 4C. Boom. Done. Over on this side, once again, there's no number that they both have, but they do both have a B. So you can pull out a plus B. Do you remember to put that plus? You're taking out a positive B. When you do that, if you have a B and you take out B, all that's left is A. And if you take out a B from this, you just have the 4C left over like so. I do want you to note that it is completely not a coincidence that those 2 parentheses are the same. Factor by grouping, they have to be the same. If they're not, then it's simply not factorable and you're done. Now, in terms of math tests and quizzes, that's probably just not going to happen because that's not testing what we're asking you to be tested on. So they will be the same. And your final answer when you write this out is going to be the stuff on the outside of the parentheses. So in this case, A plus B. That is one of your 2 parentheses answers. And the other one is just the thing that they share, A minus 4C, like that. And that is it. The thing outside goes in the first, the thing they share is the second one, and that is factored, like so. If you're curious why this is the answer, then I'll tell you. If you're not curious, then just hold your hands over your ears for the next 15 seconds. Go. The reason that there's only this thing once is because there are technically 2 terms here. And of those 2 terms, they both have an A minus 4C in common, making it a GCF. And if you pull out a GCF of A minus 4C, the only things left over are A plus B. There you go. Okay. Over to this one. Feel free at any time to just pause and try it yourself. I'm just going to walk through it as is, though. It is 4 terms. There is nothing that they all go into, so I'm just going to go straight to grouping them. And this time, they both have 2 A's that can go into them, right? This has 3 A's, this has 2 A's, so you can pull out an A squared this time. In which case, if there's 3 A's and you take out 2 of them, there's 1 left over. Bring down the minus. This is a 4A squared, so 4A2. There's 2 A's, you're taking away both of them. So the only thing left is a 4. And this time over here, 3 and 12. There is a number that goes into 3 and 12. What is it? That's right, it's a 3. So you can pull out a +3. And if you are taking this out, and by taking it out, I mean dividing, when it comes to the 12. If you're taking out a 3 from a 3A, all that's left is A. And then you're going to do 12 divided by 3 is 4. Or a different way to think about it, some people like, is 3 times what is 12. So 3 times what is 12. And the answer to that is 4. Or you can remember what I said before. Hey, they have to match. So if this is a 4, that's got to be a 4. And the answer will be A squared plus 3. And then A minus 4. Boom, boom. Going down here, this is kind of a segue between the 2 sections. Factor by grouping, that's just what you've done. We're done. What we're going to be doing with quadratics is you might notice that you could combine these, but we're not going to. That's not the point of this exercise. The point of the exercise is once we get to see something, because we're going to do some stuff down here, and when we do it, this will be into 4 terms, and then you would go into grouping. So you would group like this. Once again, I suggest pressing the pause button and trying this yourself, and then come back. It's up to you, but I recommend pressing the pause button and trying it. Okay, if you did not, then that was an awkward pause. If you did, then let's see if you got it right. 6x squared and 4x. What goes into 6 and 4? 2. X squared and x, they both have an x. So 2 times what is 6? And then x, it looks like we want an x to be an x squared, so it's missing an x. So x times x is x squared. 2 times what is 4? So that's just going to be a 2. 2x times 2 is 4x. And here 3 goes into both. So you get 3x plus 2. Once again, they do have to match, and this is 9x plus 6 if you were to distribute. Okay, so 2x plus 3, and then 3x plus 2 is what they match. Done. Finally, last one, like I said, I recommend just pausing and trying it, and then I will show you the answer. Press the pause button. Okay, so here we go. Boom, 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 boom. 5 goes into them both, and they both have an x. 5 times 2 is 10x squared. And then here, pay special attention. 5, you still have to put something. Bring down this plus sign, and you have to say 5 times what is 5. Remember, you could also talk about division. 5x divided by 5x is a 1. So you do need a 1 there. If there is nothing, it is 1. That's going to go for the rest of this entire page. If the answer is nothing, then you put a 1. You're never going to have any zeros. You'll never have any blanks. It's just, if you're saying, well, there's nothing, then you're going to be putting a 1. And here you can take out a 2, and you get 2x plus 1 again, because 2 times 1 is 2. So you get 5x plus 2, and 2x plus 1. And that is how you factor by grouping. In the next video, we're going to get to doing what's called the AC method. This is what people usually do in college, which is why I'm going to be doing it that way. But it does require for you to know how to do factor by grouping. So that's it, and I'll see you in a minute, assuming you like this video and want to watch more. Peace.